Hey everyone, nice to see you. It's Dawn here, and I am going to do a short live stream, part two of our topic that we discussed a week ago, and that was the the case. I don't know if I mentioned his name or not. I just had a little brain pause there. The case of Jordan DeMay. I read the indictment last week from the grand jury in Michigan, and the reason I came to know about this indictment is because Jordan DeMay's father has been and mother has been doing a full court press and trying to raise awareness of online safety for kids because of what happened to their son. And toward the end of last week's live stream, my brain stopped working, and I wanted to mention the two things that I took out of the parents who have been speaking up regarding these crimes against their children and what they advise. And I'm going to go through some more things tonight. But before I forget, I want to mention the two things. One, that Mr. DeMay said about Jordan is, he said, we went through everything about online safety. We had the precautions in, we had the Apple phones and all that with all the online security. But one thing we didn't tell Jordan, and he wanted all the parents and those interacting with children to know is if you do something online, if all of that fails and something happens, come to me, talk to me, or talk to somebody. I mean, the reason that he wanted everyone to know that is because his son took his own life as a result of sextortion. And he didn't want that to happen to anyone else. So we can warn, we can protect, we can safeguard, but sometimes that's not enough. And whether it's something that the child did or the predator is doing, there's some seepage. And if that happens, children need to know that there's somebody always listening, even if they think that what happened is the most horrifying, mortifying, embarrassing thing that ever will happen with them. It probably wouldn't be, but nothing is worth taking their life or sending money to a stranger to try and make this problem go away. So what Mr. DeMay said is make sure that your children and those that you're responsible for know that there's always an open door, even when they make a mistake. And of course, that's good advice for anything, whether it's a mistake online, getting involved with the wrong people or somebody who you thought might be somebody else, which is the case, and is going to be more and more the case with artificial intelligence, or whether it's bullying. There's always somebody who can listen. Nothing is ever so big that you need to hurt yourself or take your own life. And in 2 years or in 5 years, you're going to have a family of your own. It's going to be a distant memory. High school is not forever, or grade school, or whatever age your kids are. So that was really important. And then the second thing was that I got from a lot of the parents speaking up about this through the indictment and who had reached out to this family is always have electronic devices, kids using their electronic devices, computers, phones, all of it, 100% in a public area in the home. In other words, the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, not off in their bedrooms, not off downstairs and somewhere else where they can't be, where they're unlikely to be taking pictures of themselves and sending it to someone else or whatever, because people are around and they're going to see that. So those were the two really huge pieces of advice that I got from that. So I just dove right in there. So if you haven't joined me about this topic, I did read the indictment last week, and this was a case where there are many victims, not just Jordan DeMay, but this is in the state of Michigan, but this is happening all over the place. I just read that one indictment because it's so powerful. And so tonight I wanted to talk as I mentioned last week, to pivot. And by the way, if you missed that indictment, just go to my last video here in this playlist, or I might drop it in the description or in the comments if you missed it. You can have me read it, and then also in my community pages, I posted a copy of that indictment. It's a 9-page indictment, so it's 2 posts. One is page 1 through 5, and the second post is page 6 through 9. So, the extortion for money or other things is only one problem crime that children are being victimized by online. And so I wanted to read a little bit about what's going on. And this comes from the United States Attorney's Office. And this one happens to be in Indiana. So this was a press release in the beginning of this year, 2023. So January 2023. And the title is FBI and Partners Issue a National Public Safety Alert on Sextortion Schemes. But again, it's not just extortion, but that's what we were talking about last week. So I thought this was pertinent. And so this is basically a public emergency. And this is why. Subtitled, Over 3,000 minor victims targeted in 2022 across the United States. That's the ones they know of. The FBI, in partnership with Homeland Security Investigations and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, is issuing a national public safety alert regarding an explosion of incidents of children and teens being coerced into sending explicit images online and extorted for additional explicit material or money, a crime known as sextortion. I might have read this before the indictment, but that indictment was so powerful. And this sextortion, these images are also being used, repurposed, shall we say, for pornography and other horrible things. So again, this is talking about 2022. Over the past year, law enforcement and agencies have received over 7,000 reports related to online sextortion of minors, resulting in at least 3,000 victims, primarily boys. More than a dozen sextortion victims were reported to have died by suicide. The FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office, and our law enforcement partners implore parents and caregivers to engage with their kids about sextortion schemes so we can prevent them in the first place. Sextortion schemes occur in online environments where young people feel the most comfortable using common social media sites, gaming sites, or video chat applications that feel familiar and safe. On these platforms, predators often use fake accounts and target minors. Through deception, sextortionists convince the young person to produce an explicit video or photo. Once the predators acquire the images, they often threaten to release the compromising materials unless the victim sends additional sexually explicit material. Some of these criminals demand money or gift cards to keep them from releasing the compromising material in their possession. Often these predators demand payment through a variety of peer-to-peer payment applications. And in many cases, however, sextortionists release the images even if additional material is sent or payments are made. So there's no point in sending the money. They're going to use these images anyway. So if it happens to your kid, or if you're a kid listening to this, it's not the end of the world. Don't send more money. Don't do any kind of self-harm. The shame, fear, and confusion that victims feel when they are caught in this cycle often prevents them from asking for help or reporting the abuse, and may drive them toward self-harm. And so that's why Mr. DeMay's suggestion was so important. He said he thought of everything. They had a great relationship with their boy, both the mom and dad. And it still happened because that was the one thing he didn't say to Jordan. If you ever did anything that you just feel so mortified by, so embarrassed by, it's probably, come to me. It doesn't matter what it is. So it says further in this press release, the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Indiana prosecuted several sextortion-related cases in recent years, including the following. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I am going to read the names of the cases, and maybe we'll talk about those more next week on part 3 of 3. So one is United States versus Kyle Peterson. And Peterson was convicted and sentenced to 22 years in federal prison in December of 2022. United States versus Buster Hernandez. Hernandez was convicted and sentenced to 75 years of federal prison in March of 2021. And they end this press release by saying the following in bold. Sexual exploitation of children is a despicable crime that may go unrecognized by friends and family of the victims. In this digital age, it's imperative that we stay informed of the deception and other tactics predators use to harm our children. And this is quoted by Zachary Myers, USA, for the Southern District of Indiana. Victims of sextortion may feel confused, embarrassed, and as if there is no escape. So again, we want to make sure that we let our children know that there is an escape, no matter what they do, right? And he says, he goes on to say, I strongly urge parents and caregivers to engage with the children in their lives, to discuss this crime, and to help law enforcement agencies prevent the abuse before it happens. And so it's really important to be really upfront, which is what I'm trying to do on this channel and in this 3-part series. It also says, what if you or your child are a victim? If young people are being exploited, they are victims of a crime and should report it. Contact your local FBI field office. I'm going to leave this link in my community page because there are hyperlinks with numbers for all of your local FBI field offices. So if you click on that hyperlink, you can find your local office, or you can call 800-CALL-FBI or report it online at tips.fbi.gov. So all these links are in this document, which I will have in the community pages after the show. Now, finally, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, has outlined steps parents and young people can take if they or their child are a victim of sextortion, including: remember, the predator is to blame, not your child and not you. Get help before deciding whether to pay money or otherwise comply with the predator. Cooperating or paying rarely stops the blackmail and continued harassment. Report the predator's account via the platform's safety feature. So whether it's Instagram or whatever platform you're on, there is a way to report harassment and threats. It's a requirement, and so you should do that so it doesn't happen to someone else. Block the predator and do not delete the profile or messages, because that can be helpful to law enforcement in identifying them and stopping them. Let NCMEC help get explicit images of you off the internet. They can do some swiping. Visit missingkids.org/is your explicit content out there, which is a link. Again, this will be in the community pages, to learn how to notify companies yourself, or visit cybertipline.org, cybertipline.org to report to us for help with the process. Ask for help. This can be a very complex problem and may require help from adults or law enforcement. And if you don't feel that you have adults in your corner, you can reach out to NCMEC for support at gethelp@ncmec.org or call NCMEC at 1-800-THE-LOST. Take a moment to learn how sextortion works, how to talk to your children about it. Information sources, resources, and conversation guidelines are also available at fbi.gov/stop sextortion. Now, again, this is only one crime of many that are being committed against children. And it's super important, as you can see from the advice here online from the FBI and from the Justice Department, that there's a way of handling this. And whether you're a child or an adult, you can talk to somebody about this. If you have any want any of these individual links and you don't want to go to my community pages, just comment and I can give you the link right here. So I wanted to also give you a couple of just a little bit of an idea of what went on and what Jordan DeMay's parents are doing. And so I am going to share my screen, which I should have had prepared ahead of time, but let me just grab this real quick. Right. Now, the first interview I saw about Jordan was his father being interviewed by Nate Eaton at eastidahonews.com. And it did not come up when I did a search online, but there were some other interviews that did come up. So let's take a look at this one, because this is the one that actually refers directly to the indictment that I read. Looks like we had a little repeat here. I'm not sure what happened. Let's go. There you go. So, with that, I wanted to end with that tonight, which is some suggestions for those who are listening to this extremely uncomfortable but unfortunate crime that's being committed, whether it's to you or against you or somebody you know. Please reach out for help. And law enforcement, if you call the local police, they can put you in touch also with the FBI and the right authorities for this type of thing. So it seems like such a hopeless situation if you get yourself into something like this, but it's not. And it's so sad to me. It really touches me in a personal way. And I wanted to make sure that I take a couple of minutes to just share this out with my friends on YouTube. And you can share it too if it's important to you or somebody that you care for. So I'm going to wrap this up tonight, and I'll be back for the final short part next week. I wanted to keep these nice and short and palatable, and I will also be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time, Thursday, the 24th of August, with Katie, and we're going to be reviewing the prior testimony of Wendy Adelson in Katie Magbanawala's murder trial. So with that charming information. Good night. Take care. Be safe. Bye.